Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli. This is part 2 of my protest, doth protest too much, as Shakespeare or Lord Tennyson or some English Brit writer from 500 years ago said. Um, I mentioned in the last video some small protesting I did as a teenager, and now I'm going to talk about being an adult, my adult career of protesting, which is not very extensive, but this is more racial. The stuff that I dealt with in the 80s was, about nuclear proliferation and saving the seals and the whales, and so more of the recent stuff. Actually, not even that recent. I'll start with 1991, and this may take an entire part to talk about, so this may end up a three-parter. But this was, I was very, very busy in 1991. I was about to finish up school. I had about a year and about a year and a half, 2 years left. I was putting myself through school. I was working full-time, schooling full-time, partying when I could, living on my own, because back in 1991, you could afford that. And I lived about a block away from the Capitol building. And so, we didn't have cell phones back then. I didn't even have a computer. I got through my entire college career when I graduated in 1993 with an electric typewriter. Never used a computer except on campus at the computer lab. So, I can't remember vividly what happened, but somebody either called me or came to my place, to my apartment, and said, "Man, there's some shit going down at the Capitol. Let's go check it out." And I'm 23, so I'm like, "Yeah, let's go check it out." Because when you're 23, you're fearless and frankly sometimes stupid. But so we go down, and here's the thing: when I didn't own a car, that was the sacrifice I had to make to get through college and live on my own while working. I was either go live with my dad. Mm-mm. Sacrifice school? No. I'll forego the car. And it was great. I walked around, I used the bus, but you get to know people in that downtown area because I went to a lot of the bars that were downtown. You have friends of friends. You start seeing people repeatedly, and a lot of those people, unfortunately, are skinheads. I actually got to know some on a fringe basis, but you talk to them for 2 seconds, you're like, bye, you're a racist piece of shit. I don't want to be around you. So I worked with a woman, and she was a skinhead, for lack of a better term. They used to actually call them skin bitches. I'm not even lying, because what a surprise that racist men don't have a high regard for the women in their life, right? Whoa, it was really shocking. But yeah, they used to call women that dated skinheads skin bitches. And so one of these women worked with me at the movie theater where I worked, and she got called out on it. Somebody put a little piece of paper in her locker that said racist with an anarchy symbol for the A in racist, and I thought that was pretty funny. I was a manager at the time. She handed it to me, and I go, "Okay, what do you want me to do about it?" She's like, "Well, you should address it." I go, "Actually, you should address this." It really pissed her off because she was dating a fucking guy who would walk around in Nazi garb. He was putting together protests at the Capitol building, and he was in the fucking movement. He was a skinhead. He was an Aryan Brotherhood guy. He was a piece of shit. Anyway, so this guy and some others, I wish I could remember the guy's name, but the guy was part of this little get together of racist pieces of shit, and they were on the Capitol building, and they were talking their racist shit and talking about segregation, all this stupid shit, and how all the mud people, as they called them, real nice term, anyone of color was below them. And so this guy is Sean Slater. Sorry, but Sean Slater was kind of the leader of the micro movement in Denver at the time. And he's up there talking his shit. And all of a sudden, we were part of this counter protest. And there were like maybe 60 skinheads on the steps of the building. Sean Slater's talking. There's a bunch of media there. And literally like 500 counter protesters showed up. They were outnumbered 10-1. They had to be shitting their drawers. And I mentioned in the Martin Luther King video how somehow racist pieces of shit get police protection, even though they're doing things that frankly might be against not only the state, but the constitution of this state, but the constitution of this country, because you have free speech, but it can't be insightful, right? So I don't know if they were saying insightful. It was definitely not complimentary. So it could be argued that it's insightful. And I forgot the other part of that clause. But anyway, so they had to sneak in from the east side of the Capitol and try to work their way around tightly around the building to the west side where the Capitol faces out towards the mountains. That's where people do speeches and protest and just even hang out. And so some counter protesters got wind of this, and they wedged themselves between the Capitol building and these cops and Nazis and skinheads on horses. It was weird. They pushed them all the way down to Broadway and Colfax, all the way down the lawn, which is about a block long, the Capitol, the Capitol grass lawn, and then they had to work their way up. Cops had to move protesters for these guys to get to their stage. There's the problem. The problem I spoke of in the MLK video, where if you are saying such a horrible message that this many counter protesters are against you, why are you getting police protection? Your free speech is not guaranteed when you're saying that shit. It's in the Constitution. You don't get to say insightful, hateful shit. It is not covered under your free speech clause. And if you're saying things that are so right, in your opinion, what are you afraid of? Right? If you're not pissing off a bunch of people, 500 of us, what are you doing? But here's where it got beautiful. So rather than get violent, because it was getting a little sketchy when people were starting to fight horses and cops. We don't want that. So they let him back up to the stage. Dude in full Klan gear, by the way. This wasn't some guy kind of mildly dressed in a t-shirt with his sleeves rolled up and maybe a swastika tattoo. No, this was a guy in full, two guys, I believe, in full Klan gear, and the cops getting them to their stage. Be that as it may. Rather than get violent, which we could have, because they were scared too. I love seeing a Nazi frightened. It's a beautiful thing. And angry at the same time. They're on the steps of that Capitol, but they see the crowd growing. And they can have all the AK-47s they want. You're outnumbered 10-1, you're fucking losing. And so they knew that. You could see fear, but also anger. They were so pissed because we were just shouting down Sean Slater. You couldn't hear a thing. He had microphone speakers, and we were so loud. We had one guy, I remember vividly, a little white guy just went up, and he had a fight, like I think it was an electrical tape. It was really really poorly made, but it said fight racism on this white t-shirt, and I think it was electrical tape or something black, and he just went up there with the air horn, just somehow made his way through the media throng and just did it until the thing wore out. It was beautiful, and we all cheered. I remember this is crazy and bizarre and probably wouldn't happen today, but we were near, it was mostly white people protesting this, but there were black guys there too, and this group of black guys, probably 6 to 10 of them, started chanting white niggers. And we joined them. It was a little like, we're okay to say this, right? Back in 91, we knew we were okay to say it because they started the chant, and so everyone started chanting white niggers, and they were fucking losing their shit. You want to piss off a Nazi, call him a white nigger. You want to piss off a Klansman, call him that. And it was great, and it was beautiful, and it was people coming together to tell these people, no, not in our town, not on my lawn. I don't care. You guys think you run 14th Avenue? No, you don't. You're pieces of garbage. You're cowards, and your worldview is sad and pedantic, and just childish. So that was my one big protest in the 90s. I covered 10 minutes on it, and then I didn't protest for a long time. It took another nearly 30 years before I got on it again when George Floyd was murdered, and I will talk about that in the next video. I'm trying to think if there's any other stuff to add, to put a little 80-second padding on this video, but no, there's not too much else that I remember. I did mention the 1992 riots the following year, which I was not involved in, thankfully, because that was terrifying and awful. But yeah, 1991, it went off without, I mean, it was an incident, but nothing got violent. As far as I know, nobody was arrested. And once again, like I said, that's the problem, is that helps set the template for cops protecting racists. Because you say your shit, if it's not so wrong, if it's just a thing that, hey, we believe in our rights, it's not racist bullshit, then you should be fine with just walking away right afterwards. You haven't incited anybody. Why do you need police protection to get the hell out of there if you haven't done anything wrong? So there's my time. I'm going to wrap up a little early. Next video will be about George Floyd and some of the protests I was active in during that time a few years ago, and yeah, 3-parter on my life in protest. Thanks for checking it out, guys. See you next time. Bye.